All right, thanks for joining us. And we've got a panel now on sovereigns and Bitcoin. So let's just take 30 seconds each and ask each of the gentlemen to introduce themselves a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your role.
Thank you, Stephan. My name is Hector Celarie. I'm the Deputy Ambassador of El Salvador to the Kingdom of the Netherlands. I have been posted before to the State of Israel, New York, and Trinidad and Tobago. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I have done many stuff in my life. Thank you.
My name is Tristan Thoma. Can you hear me in the back? Nice, great. So my name is Tristan Thoma. I'm the Director of Product for Government and Payments at Alpha Point. We power the Chivo wallet, which is the first national Bitcoin wallet in the world. And I'm here to share the amazing experience of working with these amazing countries.
Hello, my name is Steve Tangoa. I'm advisor to the President of Central African Republic.
Great, so let's talk a little bit. So first, we'll explore a little bit about what inspired each nation to go on this journey of having Bitcoin as legal tender. So let's start with you, Hector.
Well, in El Salvador, under the leadership of President Nayib Bukele, everything started with a dream of having a new country, a dream of doing taking into place new ideas, and from there, also this dream included how to bring to the financial system or to the economy 70% of Salvadorians that were unbanked. And at the same time, our GDP is consisted of 50% of remittances from our communities that live abroad in different parts of the world. And how to do that? These people send their money not to the regular means, but through the new means like Bitcoin. From there, the president and our government decided to adopt last year, in the month of June, Bitcoin as a legal tender.
Great. So, Tristan, let's go to you in terms of inspiration. What inspired you at Alpha Point to take on this kind of challenge?
Absolutely. Actually, Alpha Point has been powering crypto systems for 9 crypto blockchain years, which is a very long lifetime in this space. And when we had the opportunity to engage with El Salvador, it really has been an honor since the end of last year to come and strengthen a lot of the things of the Chivo wallet. You know, on launch, there were some issues which unfortunately got a fair bit of publicity. So Alpha Point was engaged, and we've since done a magnificent job, I might add, at really improving the reliability and the stability of the system. And so we work globally. We're very honored to have the opportunity to power El Salvador. We're looking to power more countries. And what inspires us is really access for the whole world to the crypto markets. I mean, our thesis is really providing the infrastructure and the pipes for everybody to access crypto.
Great. So, Steve, let's go to you. Can you tell us a little bit about why the country, Central African Republic, chose to go this way and go for Bitcoin as legal tender?
Okay, thank you. We chose this way because we have some regulations which are too strong for the country. They are made before the independence, and we chose crypto to improve investment in the country. We have several mining resources in the country, like oil, gas, different mining, and we want to improve it. We want to develop it for the growth of the economy. It's for that we chose crypto.
Right.
I recall you said that a lot of the financial infrastructure in Central African Republic is the same as it's been in 1945. Is that true?
Yes.
Wow.
Before the independence.
Amazing.
And we don't know, by now, we don't know with who they sign it.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits that can come to a country by using Bitcoin. So let's have a chat. Hector, do you want to start with any benefits you've seen?
Well, Tristan touched a really important point about adopting Bitcoin in El Salvador. And it's that we have our own, there is a own state wallet. This own state wallet, one of the big benefits that brought to our country is that these 70% of people that were outside of the financial system, now they have been included. So everyone from the person that sells a vegetable in the market up to a person that sells any type of goods for high prices, they can do business. They can do transactions, they can trade, and also with this, we have our people abroad. They're also sending the remittances through the Chivo wallet and avoiding with that the fees that the traditional ways used to charge to them. So with this, we want to open El Salvador to new ways of financing, new ways of source financing for investments, for commerce, for day-to-day trade. That's one of the main things that we have.
Great. Tristan, do you want to add anything there in terms of the benefits you're seeing for Salvadorans?
Absolutely. So very famously, El Salvador had a $30 in Bitcoin bonus for everybody that signed up. And it was amazing on the Alpha Point side for us to see, the back end. We would see 18-year-olds sign up to the app every day. Every day somebody turns 18 and they get their $30 in Bitcoin. And for a lot of these Salvadorans, it was the first time they had anything outside of $1 in their hand, right? Any type of account. So not only were they introduced to the idea of an account, they were introduced to an idea of global currency. And that currency could be, transacted anywhere in the world, nearly instantaneously, integrate with all of the wallets. They can go to every Starbucks, Papa John's, and buy food. And they can also, pay their taxes in it. And so the impact on the mentality, just the mental map of every Salvadoran, especially the youth as they're coming into being familiar with what digital payments is, they're being raised in an entirely different world than their parents or their grandparents. And so when they view the world and they start to do international commerce, they start to communicate, they're going to see the world as much smaller and much more accessible because they're already familiar with what it is to do a digital payment. So it's enthralling to see that.
Yeah, and I think also just to highlight with the Chivo wallet, and I think the Chivo wallet and Alpha Point deserve some credit there because they have designed their system to be an open one. It's not a walled garden. It's not one custodial payment to another only. You can pay in with another Lightning wallet or Bitcoin wallet. You can pay into it, and Tristan and I, we even played around, and I sent him a dollar in Bitcoin, backstage just to test it out, and it all worked fine, and I was able to send him $1 worth of Bitcoin, and it went straight into his Chivo wallet. So I think credit to them for going with that approach because they didn't have to do it that way, right? Yeah.
Yes. I'll note, if I may, we've also done a great effort in integrating with the legacy financial systems. And, Steve said a lot of their financial system has been around since 1945, and I'm sure you're not the only country with that. And so we've made sure to integrate with all the national banks, to integrate with ATMs, credit card providers, so that we can make it as seamless, as you said, outside of the walled garden experience. If you want to use Chivo, awesome. If you want to use Moon Wallet, Satoshi Wallet, any of them, it's just as easy, and you can make a payment just as smoothly.
Yeah. Okay. So, Steve, let's hear a little bit from yourself. I know, obviously, Central African Republic is earlier in their Bitcoin journey. Have you seen any benefits so far, or what kind of benefits do you hope to see?
I can answer in French.
I won't be able to translate, but you can start in French.
Okay. In French, okay.
I don't speak French. I speak some French.
No, sorry. Okay, so how's the...
Try it in English. You try it in English after.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So have you... What good have you... Like, has it... What's the process been for you as a country trying to drive Bitcoin as a money, as a legal tender?
First, we chose Bitcoins for easier. Is the future. Bitcoin is the future, and like I say, is a currency who broke all the rule of regulation existing now for the central bank, for the Banque de France, and so on. It's for that we choose it, and we hope the best for the future, because now we don't introduce it for the people. Our first step is just for investor and investments, and for the people is the next step, as I say to Tristan, is the next step, because we have some problem of infrastructure to solve. We have internet, energy, and so on to solve first, and before we...
Yeah. So you're speaking to some of the, let's say, infrastructure and education aspects that have to be ticked off before the broader adoption. Let's hear back from you, Hector, if there's been any changes required. I know there have been some regulatory changes that had to be, let's say, pushed through in order to enable this. Could you elaborate?
Well, I think one of the things I want to use one of the words of Steve. I think that in the case of El Salvador, Bitcoin is not the future. Bitcoin is the present. Bitcoin is there. It's working every day, and it has been done through the adoption of Bitcoin as a legal tender. This brought that we needed to work to have a law that was the specific structure to avoid any illicits in the country, to give certainty to any transaction, and through the Chivo wallet people can be certain and have the certainty that this transaction is being done accordingly to what we expected. And also this, what we wish in the future, is, like I told you, is to have investors, to have people doing trade, to come and see El Salvador and to experience it by yourself, using the different types of wallet that have been integrated to Chivo wallet. But like any other innovation, it has to be adapted to the reality of the country in a general matter. That's how I see it.
Yeah, sure. What about the question of Bitcoin education and just education in general around financial education? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
For sure. Well, I think one of the best experience that our people is going through is to learn on doing the transactions through the wallet. But also our government has decided that to address this topic in a cross-cutting issue. So from the office of the First Lady of our government, they have decided to apply a policy where every single kid that goes to school at any level, they receive a computer to get into the digitalized nation. And also we have started with our new laws to educate in a new way to the early childhood. So everything goes step by step. This is not a program that will end tomorrow. We want to succeed. We want people to use Bitcoin for long term.
Mm-hmm. Tristan, I'm sure you also get involved here because when people use the Chivo wallet, for many of them, that's their first experience with Bitcoin. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about what that is like and perhaps dealing with some of the challenges of educating somebody while they're learning and using Bitcoin the first time?
Absolutely. It's very interesting working kind of in particular with developing countries and people that are getting used to a lot of different things at the same time. For example, in the onboarding process, the KYC process, which is one of the things we're also, have focused a lot on improving. We use facial recognition in the app, right? So when a person is onboarding, they look at their phone and their phone looks back at them. And it's recording, it's actually the person, they're moving their head, things like this. And for a lot of people, they've never interacted with, they've never experienced their phone looking at them, right? It's a totally new kind of paradigm. And so teaching people through, instructions and screens and support centers in person and online on how to even, register in a secure way has been its own kind of process. And, our partners with the KYC vendors have been very supportive and collaborative in it. It's a fun little example of really people understanding what it is. And then, working with QR codes, working with Bitcoin addresses, Lightning addresses at the same time. It's been an entirely new process doing it at this scale and with this population.
Right, and I think that's also an important point because arguably in this first, let's say in the 8-9 years up to now, a lot of the adoption, now Bitcoin has been around for 13 years to be clear, but in those first few years, the first few adopters were more tech-savvy individuals, whereas now we're dealing more with individuals who are not as tech-savvy. So I think that's also an interesting point to understand how are countries and private companies helping people who are not so tech-savvy learn how to use this thing and get used to it, because there's a lot of new concepts to understand. Bitcoin address, Lightning invoice, and then understanding that it's a free-floating currency. So the amount of Bitcoin you have now, it will translate to a different fiat value. So I think these are all challenges when it comes to education and adoption.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Steve, can you tell us anything from your side around the education and the infrastructure? How has that process been for the country, for your country?
No, we are independent since the 16 years. Exactly in August 1960. And since this date, we have some problem to develop the country. Mm-hmm. Neocolonialism, how do you say, neocolonialism, how do you say coup d'etat? Yes.
Coup d'etat?
Yeah.
Not really sure.
In French?
Yeah. Okay.
But we have those problems, and civil war and so on. And since 5-6 years, we start a stability. It's for that we introduce a crypto as a legal currency. But with this introduction, we have several problems with the institution of the region, like a COSIMAF, which is how do you say, a market survey of the great area of Central Africa. Mm-hmm. And now this institution approve crypto as currency, and they say to the people of area to start introducing those currencies. And for infrastructure, the real problem is to develop our capacity to financing the infrastructure. You know,
Okay.
if we are able to invest in mining, in oil, in gas, we can financing the infrastructure. We can solve it.
Okay. So as an example, can you tell us what kind of person or investment you might be interested in? Like, are you interested in, let's say, a Bitcoin miner coming to set up? Or in what way are you hoping Bitcoin helps investment in Central African Republic?
No, sorry. Can you
Okay.
repeat?
So what kind of investors would you be looking for with Bitcoin?
The type of it's in mining sector, okay? An example, if you are in Salvador or in Ecuador or in every country, you want to invest in Central Africa, we deal and we agree to invest in a mining sector. You have to for transfer your cash in car, you have to go by the Bank of France, and that is not
So it allows you to route around that.
exact.
And so an entrepreneur, some investor, could potentially use Bitcoin to route around that
Exactly.
and still conduct business in the country without having to ask for the permission from the CFA.
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's chat a little bit about some of the challenges that you've been facing. Hector, do you want to explain a little bit? So I guess for your case, now in Bitcoin we often talk about low time preference, right? Thinking for the long term. But oftentimes the people who are very fiat denominated or the media will come out and say, oh, look, see, Bitcoin is down from 69,000 down to 19,000 or 18,000, whatever it is right now. And they'll say, oh, see, it's been a failure. Now, of course, many of us would disagree with that, but I'm curious how do you think about that?
Well, in the case of El Salvador, recently our president, Nayib Bukele, he wrote in Bitcoin magazine, where he addressed this topic. He explained that we have a lot of opposition to what we're doing. There has been some not good news about it. But the reality is the only way that you can really show what is happening in El Salvador is to showing that El Salvador, through Chivo Wallet and all the vision that we have to make it, it's really applying Bitcoin, and it's really trying to bring people to use it in El Salvador. But also showing that what it says there is not really happening in El Salvador. It's let's say some of the people is saying that El Salvador lost $50 million because of the decrease on the value of the Bitcoin. But the reality is that we still own the Bitcoin. We still have them with us. So that's something that we're trying to show. Also, they said that El Salvador was going to be bankrupt. But El Salvador recently offered to buy its own debt.
It's the complete opposite of the
yes,
narrative,
exactly.
right? El Salvador is hodling strong, right?
It is. So if you want to go into that, I really invite you all to come and read what the president just wrote for Bitcoin magazine. It explains exactly, but is one of the challenges, how you show that it's really being used, it really has an effect on the financial inclusion of people. This 70% you see in it, you see them doing it transactions day to day. It's there.
Yeah.
And as El Salvador, our tribe is to succeed.
Yeah.
That's what we want. That's what we aim, and we will do all our effort to continue on that trend.
Yeah, and I did read that op-ed. I recommend you out there go and check it out. It was a great op-ed. I can't remember the exact title, but it was saying "Don't drink the Kool-Aid," right? And so, really good article. Tristan, do you want to just touch on some of the initial teething issues that were there with the Chivo wallet? Because obviously, there were pressures in terms of how quickly the country had to adopt. Could you just explain a little bit about what happened there and how things have advanced since then?
Yeah. One of the fun things of working with governments is that governments don't necessarily work on technology timelines. Politicians work on political timelines, technologists work on technology timelines, and the art and the dance of it is, finding the way to make them work together. And so, when the president announced the law, he announced the app. And he said, this app is going to do this thing. And, the app is in development, and of course it's in constant development. And as it was launched and as it's iterated through the different, from the initial launch, there were learnings of a new system, right? Nobody has ever done this for millions of people. Nobody's ever had a national Bitcoin wallet with government integrations, with AI machine learning, KYC, which went through its own iterations. I'm sure if you've seen the news, it started off as not so strong, and then now if you go to register on the Chivo wallet, it's integrated seamlessly. And that's part of the beauty of working together, is that I believe El Salvador had to go the route they did, or it wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't get out, because you're never 100% ready. I think that the president taking that leap and saying, the declaration of it will launch, and granted, things will go wrong, and things went wrong. And then we'll fix them, and we fix them. And I think it's actually a testament to the power of a private-public partnership. We've seen, over the course of time, even after a lot of the reliability and stability issues were resolved, we've seen people in developing countries that, for example, a lot of fraud and scams, like phishing, things like this, like very basic phishing. I'm getting a phone call, and it's the president of Chivo asking for my PIN. Of course it's a scammer, and I might know that, but somebody who's never had a digital wallet, no less a bank account, oh my God, thank you so much. You're going to give me $50 more? I'll give you my PIN. And a lot of these people might have been scammed in their face. I know when you're taking $50 in cash from me, but I don't know if you're taking my PIN and you're going to send my money out, right? So we've had a process of education, making graphic interfaces, making, educational videos, or support on the call center side and inside the application and in technology to make it harder and, create more layers of protection for each of the users. And that's a beautiful learning that, we're in a unique place to be able to see and perceive. And I mean, 1 year in, I think we've made the progress of, I've been in the industry for 7 years. There was always the dream, I want to pay for my coffee in Bitcoin. And now you freaking can. It's so cool. You can go to Starbucks.
Yeah.
Yes, it's worth an applause.
Yeah, that's great.
It's almost like out of a dream. You can, any Starbucks and any Walmart, any airport, you pay in Bitcoin. The learnings that we've had over this year are, I can't speak highly enough about it. Regardless of whatever growing pains there have been, the fact is that the entire world is talking about implementation of Bitcoin. Conversations we're having with Central African Republic, conversations we're hosting with countries all over the world, and welcome with more countries and more institutions, is how can we improve each of these implementations?
Okay, great. One other point that would be good to touch on is that with the Chivo wallet, there's also an ATM network. So for people to be able to, the idea is, because El Salvador people are using US dollar and Bitcoin, and in some cases where they need to use USD, they've got that. So could you just elaborate on how that's working?
Absolutely. We have integration. There was a launch with about 250 ATMs throughout the country. So we integrate to be able to take cash in and out. We acknowledge that that El Salvador is mostly a cash economy, as are many developing countries, and that ease of transactability is paramount. So every Chivo ATM, you can take cash in and out. every credit card, I can top up my Chivo wallet. We've integrated with all the primary national banks. So if I want to take my money out from Chivo, put it in a bank, I pay rent every month from my Chivo wallet, and it goes to my landlord. And it's super easy.
Great. Yeah, and it's good to see, people eating their own dog food. I think that's it's good for us to live our ethos and try to walk the talk. So we've actually got a translator now to help us.
Yes.
So
Hi, everybody.
thank you. Yeah. So
It's more easier for me.
Yeah, sure. So let's hear a little bit from you in terms of if you could explain some of the challenges you've been dealing with, and what has the response been internationally to this announcement?
Alors, la réponse sur le plan international a été d'abord l'étonnement. L'étonnement est en fait une certaine mauvaise perception de la part de nos partenaires principaux francophones, notamment ceux qui sont dans l'espace CEMAC avec nous, notamment la France, ceux qui sont dans l'espace CEMAC avec nous. Et il nous a fallu une espèce de campagne d'explication pour leur faire comprendre qu'on ne sortait pas du franc CFA, mais que c'était plutôt une méthode pour nous pour stimuler les investissements. Première étape.
Okay, so the first step was a misunderstanding, quite a bad impression from other governments, for example, with France. And so actually the first mission consisted in explaining that the country did not want to leave the SFA currency. So this was step one.
Voilà. Et donc finalement, les organismes régionaux, notamment la commission de surveillance des marchés financiers, a fini par nous suivre. Ils ont adopté donc maintenant pour la région, c'est-à-dire les 6 États membres. Il faut savoir que la RCA est membre de la CEMAC, Communauté économique et monétaire d'Afrique centrale. La commission de surveillance des marchés financiers a fini par nous suivre en indiquant aux autres États membres que désormais ils pouvaient adopter le Bitcoin et les crypto-monnaies pour faire fonctionner et développer les économies.
So the country is part of an organization called CEMAC, which is the institution, officially speaking, at the institutional level. So they had conversation together, and by having this important and deep talk, they eventually succeeded in having some sort of license or officially being able to use Bitcoin in the country, and this was a major step for the country.
Voilà. Et nous, il n'a jamais été question, de sortir de la monnaie ou de faire un bras de fer avec qui que ce soit. Il nous fallait trouver des solutions pour développer l'économie, parce que ça fait, comme je le disais tout à l'heure, ça fait 60 ans, ça fait 62 ans exactement que nous sommes indépendants, avec des coups d'État, des guerres civiles, des troubles civils et ainsi de suite. Et donc depuis 2016, nous avons essayé de trouver une voie de sortie pour véritablement enclencher le développement, ramener la paix, enclencher le développement. Et le Bitcoin est une solution.
So he's insisting that it was not a battle with the traditional SFA currency. They really wanted to improve the economy in the country. And they really found in Bitcoin a path towards development on one side and a path towards peace at the other side. The country has been independent for 62 years, so they are actually struggling talking economy, and really they see a bright future in adopting Bitcoin and being at the forefront of this new sort of revolution, I would say. Revolution is my word, by the way.
Voilà.
Yeah. And in the Central African Republic, you have mentioned you are interested in investment. What about use by the citizens, the population? Is this a goal for you also?
Oui, bien sûr. C'est un objectif que nous nous sommes fixés. Mais avant ça, comme je vous l'expliquais dans mon bas d'anglais tout à l'heure, c'est un objectif à atteindre dans les 2, 3, 5 prochaines années à venir, tout simplement parce que les infrastructures ne sont pas en place pour l'instant. Nous avons des problèmes d'énergie, nous avons des problèmes de route, nous avons des problèmes de communication, nous avons des problèmes d'eau et de structure d'enseignement et de qualité des enseignants. Donc nous comptons avec les fruits que rapportera les investissements via les cryptos, nous comptons avec les fruits de ces investissements-là, investir dans les secteurs que je viens de citer afin de lancer un programme d'ensemble de développement.
So obviously, citizen adoption is on the map. So they have set a goal for that. But I think in the first place, you need to, through the money they're making with business, through mining, I guess, that they are first trying to fix the important issues they have at the infrastructure level, whether it is water, communication, highways. They really need to fix that first. And once they have that, the plan for them is 2, 3 to 5 years to get citizens on board and make it something that the people of the country can use day in, day out.
Great. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about, we're going on this journey to adopt Bitcoin. I think it would be good to talk about what success looks like. So if we were to look forward maybe on that 10-year horizon, what would success look like for El Salvador?
Well, in the plans of the country, as we envision it, is that we want to be a digitalized nation. This means that we want to work on fintech, startups, innovation, Bitcoin. We want to work in mining. We want to attract all the Bitcoin community to El Salvador, to experience it, to invest, to live in El Salvador. And as you may hear around there, we also would like to have a Bitcoin city in the future, right? So what we envision is that. We envision that a long-term process, a long-term that people come, live, experience it, see our beautiful beaches, see our, we have a Bitcoin beach also, which is part of Sur City, where you can really see the trade in Bitcoin every day. You can pay for a Coca-Cola, for a beer, you can pay for a fried fish or whatever you want. But what we envision is that, to have a digitalized nation, a nation where Bitcoin and the other currency also are working together using Chivo Wallet. And that's what the president is envisioning. For that, we are working in adopting new laws to give a better structure to all this idea in the upcoming months.
Excellent. So Tristan, then I guess from your perspective with Alpha Point, perhaps partially with El Salvador or maybe with other countries also, how would you be judged in, let's say, 10 years? This was a success or it didn't really work out like we thought?
Yeah. 10 years is I think a great timeline to look at, because success for Alpha Point is really expanding the service that we provide to many countries around the world and ensuring that the systems that we implement and that we power retain the ethos of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency with the inevitability of, for example, CBDCs. Alpha Point at our heart, we are an exchange, and we also facilitate payments. And so, for those of you that also listened to the CBDC talk yesterday, it was very eye-opening, I think, for a lot of us, and scary for a lot of us. And as we are, we're in the core of these conversations of what will the actual national digital wallets look like for the next 3, 5, 10 countries, one country. And we view our responsibility as making sure that they're not a walled garden, making sure there is a seamless exchange and interoperability between wallets, between nations, between countries and currencies. And if there is a thing that we can take responsibility in at least communicating and advocating for, it is to ensure that, with the inevitability of a CBDC or the Sengo token, and, however open or closed system these different tokens might be, we can take charge in ensuring interoperability. So people that want to take advantage of a CBDC and perhaps conveniences that they offer can also exchange seamlessly and interact seamlessly with Bitcoin or with any other currency that might not, have a KYC behind the wallet. And, perhaps the host of that wallet, whatever country or company hosts it, can still take advantage of the benefits of global payments. And the people, me and you, can still access privacy. We still have financial privacy if we want it. And if we want to take advantage of different financial systems, then we can. So ensuring the integration across the board and powering countries in 10 years is absolutely the goal.
Great. So from your perspective, Steve, how would you be judged in, let's say, 10 years on this Bitcoin legal tender?
Alors, en réalité, il faut savoir que, avant de vous parler des perspectives à 10 ans, j'aimerais quand même rappeler un fait. En Afrique, de manière globale, le paiement mobile est très développé. Ça a été initié au Kenya, ensuite des pays comme le Nigeria, ou encore le Nigeria, la Tanzanie et autres ont suivi. Et aujourd'hui, ce système est complètement répandu sur toute l'Afrique. C'était un peu un espèce de substitut à la bancarisation. Maintenant, pour les perspectives à 10 ans, dans notre sous-région propre, il faut savoir que nous allons prendre la présidence de notre banque centrale commune en Afrique centrale. Nous prendrons la présidence l'année prochaine, je crois, ou au mieux 2024. Et nous comptons donc impulser cette dynamique-là de crypto en tant que leader de la sous-région, afin d'emmener les autres à prendre le train en marche, le train du futur. Voilà.
Before sticking to this 10-year vision, I want to insist that it is really important to have in mind that mobile payment has been super expanded across the African continent. Basically, it has been an alternative to banking for many countries. For example, Kenya, that is a good example with M-Pesa. So point one is having in mind that mobile payments is really developed on the continent. Once you have this in mind, in a few months we will be taking the presidency for the central bank at the African level. So we will have some sort of responsibility as a country. And by taking this responsibility, we really want to push forward the idea of adopting Bitcoin and crypto in general. So this is, roughly speaking, the map that we have as we speak. Pushing payments and leveraging the presidency that is coming to push the idea across the continent.
Okay, great. So we've only got about 3 minutes left. So let's take 1 minute each, and just if you had one message for the interested onlookers and the Bitcoiners out there, 1 minute for a closing thought. If there's one takeaway, what would you give?
Thank you, Stephan. Well, the only message I can give you on behalf of all the Salvadorian people is that come to El Salvador, experience it by yourself. Those that are here in the room and those in the web, come and see it, experience it by yourself, and then you will see it's happening. It's happening now, and you don't want to miss it. So come to El Salvador.
Tristan?
Yes. I'm going to kind of work off of what Steve mentioned many times about infrastructure, in that, with El Salvador, what we see is every country provides roads, hospitals, and schools as infrastructure. And we view digital payments, starting with the Chivo wallet on a national scale, as an entirely new class of infrastructure. And so Alpha Point is here to power that infrastructure with many partners to make sure that it is reliable, it is consistent, and that it is interoperable in such a way that every citizen can benefit from what we already know are the benefits of digital payments and the power of Bitcoin. So I would invite more conversations with more countries, more institutions on a national scale, and really anybody that is looking at these projects wants to collaborate, wants advice, or wants to engage, very much here for the conversation.
Yeah. And Steve, what's your final takeaway? If there's one message you could share, what would it be?
It's like Hector says, come and invest in Central Africa. We need it, and we can do a win-win partnership for everybody.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a great spot to finish it off. So can everyone please give our panelists a round of applause? All right, we'll take a quick picture then.
Yeah,
Hey guys, welcome back to the Bitcoin Magazine Analyst Desk. I'm here with the ladies from Plan B Passport, and this is the topic that you guys want to talk about because you are helping people escape the fiat system or escape the borders they are confined into to get exposure to a different passport or even move to a different country and currency, of course, in Bitcoin, if you choose to. What did you think of this? Like, what are you seeing on the ground, and what can you offer people that are looking to move country?
Well, first off, I want to say I think the biggest takeaway was from Steve saying Bitcoin is the future. And I think that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. But in all seriousness, governments have two options. They can either regulate Bitcoin and get burned, or they can stay humble and stack sats while also attracting Bitcoiners. And it's a huge incentive.
Yeah, it's really good to have El Salvador representative here at the conference because that's what Bitcoiners want these days, right? That's the one nation that is so welcoming to Bitcoiners. And we also, we can't wait. We were able to talk to them this morning and say, this is how we see that. This is what we hear from Bitcoiners and how they want the program of El Salvador to be implemented. And we also seen a lot of Bitcoiners just being overall interested in Latin America. It's a pretty popular spot to go now, especially if you're a digital nomad working remotely. Great countries. Just last month, we actually launched a Mexican residency program, which is a great bear market product. It's not $150,000 check like our citizenship programs. $5,000, all expenses done. So
wait a minute. $5,000 gets you into Mexico as what?
Gets you a resident status in Mexico. You first get a temporary residency for a year, and then if you keep doing it for 5 years, you'll be able to apply for a passport.
It's basically a financial solvency program, so you basically just have to show the government that you won't be reliant upon them.
Yeah.
How do you show them that?
Either savings or some sort of monthly income coming in.
Yeah, so prove them that you're financially solvent. It's either $2,700 worth of salary, like monthly income from outside of the country, or $45,000 in savings. But it's got to be mostly in fiat savings. That's what they really want to see. But we're now experimenting with different statements from custodial and non-custodial solutions to see if that goes through. So,
and how does it work for a family? Would that be $5,000 per head?
No, for family actually.
Yeah.
A family can get into Mexico and get the residency permit for $5,000 if they've got $45,000 worth of savings.
Yep.
Or no brainer.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible. I'm
Next
sure many
episode of Once Beaten recorded in Mexico.
So, Princey, how's Merida?
Madeira, yeah, exactly. That's a very good point because we had the panel yesterday. We told the world about what's going on in Madeira. Free Madeira. You can go to the website and find out the initiative that's being put together there. There's going to be a Bitcoin Commons starting in Madeira.
Awesome.
And the president of Madeira is backing this whole thing. He wants this to be an educational project to help the people already living on Madeira understand that Bitcoin is going to be their future, and they better hurry up and learn about it and think about adopting it as merchants, and not just rely on the fact that it's just purely a tourist kind of destination, because this is how they make their money at the moment. So if we can get more companies, more entrepreneurs, people going, just Bitcoiners in general, going to Madeira to check it out, it's going to be a very, very interesting project and perhaps a little community can thrive there. But there's not going to be like a legal tender. That there won't be, you can't pull like what Bukele did and airdrop Bitcoin into everybody's wallet. That's a completely different thing in Europe. So it's an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about El Salvador? In 2021 or 2022, I don't remember the year, their projected income from tourism has been exceeded by $600 million, which is huge for the country like this. And guess where it came from?
That would be massive. Yeah. That would be massive for Madeira. They would absolutely love to hear that. Right, we are going to wrap up this one, but stick around. Get ready for the next panel because it's going to be an interesting one.
Bitcoin is borderless.
Borderless.
Bitcoin is freedom.